Before we begin, please leave a comment, share your thoughts and let us know your lessons learned in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Let me take you to a place far from the noise of the cities. Far from the rushing of highways and the blinking of electric lights. Imagine instead a village where the sun always seems to shine just right, where the breeze carries the scent of firewood and fresh palm wine, and where gossip travels faster than the market drums. In this quiet sun-soaked village lived a young woman named Salome, and oh, what a woman she was. Salome was the kind of beauty that made men drop their baskets and women stare in a strange mix of envy and admiration. Her skin was the color of deep cocoa, glowing golden under the morning light, and her thick braids flowed like silk down her back. But it was her eyes that held people captive, dark, sparkling things, like twin stars trapped in a woman's gaze. When she smiled, it was as if the sun itself paused to admire her. But Salome was not just beautiful, no. Her true value lay far beyond the surface. She was kind, humble, and endlessly hardworking. Her fingers told stories with every piece of cloth she wove. She created wrappers, vibrant, detailed fabrics that shimmered like riverstones, each piece a masterpiece. So finely woven that even the queen herself had once sent word for one. To the villagers, she was not just a weaver. She was the Virgin Weaver, a title that carried both reverence and weight. Salome had never known a man. She held herself with grace and a quiet strength, saving her heart and her body for the man she believed would love her truly. The village elders praised her. The women gossiped about her, often with tight smiles. And the men, well, the men lined up at her family's door like bees drawn to honey. They came with gifts, baskets overflowing with yams, gold bangles glinting in the sun, even goats tied with festive ribbons, each one hoping to win her favor. But none succeeded. Salome, with her soft voice and sharp eyes, saw right through their hollow charms. "I'm not waiting for a husband," she once told her best friend. "I'm waiting for a man who sees me beyond my skin and my purity." But not everyone was patient. Her father, a man of pride and age, often sighed with growing concern. "Salome," he would say at the dinner mat, "you're not getting any younger. Must we leave this earth without seeing our grandchildren play at our feet?" Her mother echoed the worry, but gentler. "You deserve love, my daughter, but you must also be wise. Not every delay is divine." Then came Akume, a name that, in time, would fill Salome with regret. Akume was the son of the village chief, tall, with a craftsman's hands and a smile that could light a dark room. He was known not just for his father's power but for his own skill. The man made furniture for the king's palace, stools, thrones, and beds carved from sacred iroko trees. He was respected, even admired. When Akume came calling, it was not just with yams. He brought silk from afar, rings from city markets, and sweet words carved with care. He didn't just knock on the door, he entered hearts with ease. Salome's parents were delighted. "This is the one," her father beamed. "He will protect you, provide for you. What more could a woman want?" Salome hesitated, but when the chief himself came to her home, sitting humbly before her father, and said, "My daughter, Akume's heart is yours. Please give him a chance," she could no longer say no, not without offending the highest seat in the land. So, she agreed. At first, it felt right. Akume was attentive. He listened, or at least seemed to. He praised her weavings, laughed at her jokes, and held her hand gently as they walked through the market. Slowly, Salome let herself believe, maybe, just maybe, this was the love she had waited for. But shadows often hide behind light. As the wedding date approached, Akume began to change. His touches became impatient. His whispers turned demanding. "We're practically married," he would say in the dark. "Why wait?" Salome stood firm. "Because I believe in waiting. Because I trust that love respects boundaries." Akume would kiss her forehead, smile, and then try again. One night, overwhelmed by love, trust, and a desire to prove herself not frigid or ungrateful, Salome gave in. That was when the nightmare began. Despite their closeness, Akume could not enter her, no matter what he tried. It was as if a wall existed within her, one that neither desire nor force could break. Salome gasped in pain, begged him to stop, tears clouding her eyes. He tried again the next day, and the day after, but nothing changed. Frustration turned into fury. I only wanted to marry you to be the first. Akume snapped, his voice cruel and sharp like a knife. What good are you if I can't even have you? Salome, heart shattered, begged him to understand, to give her time, but Akume's pride had been wounded. And wounded pride is a dangerous thing. He stormed out, leaving not just the engagement, but a storm behind him. That very night, the village was alive with whispers. She's broken, someone said. She has no private part, said another. She bewitched him. Overnight, Salome became a joke. Where once men offered goads, now they offered cruel laughter. Young boys pointed, old women clucked their tongues. Every alley, every market corner, carried echoes of her shame. Desperate to understand what was happening to her, Salome allowed other suitors, only to confirm what she feared. None could succeed. Not a single one could breach the wall within her. And so, her title changed from Virgin Weaver to the woman with no man. The very virtue that once made her admired had now become her curse. The rejection cut deeper than any blade. Even her own parents, though still loving, grew distant. They stopped inviting neighbors over. They avoided her gaze. And at night, Salome would lie under her wrapper, tears soaking the threads she once wove with joy. They sought help. The village midwife, old and wise, examined Salome with care and compassion. This is rare, she said softly. Your body is different. Your passage is too narrow. Intimacy, perhaps even childbirth, would be impossible. They tried potions, massages, rituals under the moon. The medicine men chanted until they lost their voices. But nothing changed. And so, Salome wove. She poured her sorrow into her craft. Her colors became deeper, her patterns more intricate, as though her pain added magic to her hands. People still bought her wrappers, but now they avoided eye contact. They admired her art, not the artist. And so she lived, half loved, half shunned, until the day her path crossed with a stranger from afar. But that, dear listener, is a story for another night. Gather close, dear friend, for tonight I will tell you the story of what came after the heartbreak, after the mocking. The silence, the tears woven quietly into cloth. This is the chapter where hope returned, though it wore no grand robe or crown. It came on a dusty afternoon, tucked behind a trader's smile and a market stall. Salome was not the same woman she had once been. The laughter in her voice had dulled. The spark in her eyes flickered less brightly. But her hands, her hands still worked like magic. Each wrapper she wove was a quiet protest against the cruelty she had endured. A vibrant scream in threads of red, gold, and ocean blue. On that day, as she arranged her wrappers at the village market, a man approached her stall, not with the arrogant grin of a suitor, but with the curious eyes of a traveler. His name was Ugana, and he was no ordinary buyer. Tall, with the skin of burnt copper and a trader's stride, Ugana had come from a neighboring village, known for bartering silk and spices, cloth and carvings, but he had heard of Salome long before he saw her. The tale of the Virgin Weaver had crossed village lines. Though twisted by rumor, he had come not for gossip, but for her work. These are breathtaking, he said, touching one of her wrappers gently. Reverently, you have hands like river spirits. Salome looked up, surprised by the softness in his tone. Thank you, she replied, her voice cautious but polite. Ugana didn't push. He asked about her weaving, her colors, her patterns. He bought 3 wrappers that day, not because he needed them, but because he saw what others had forgotten, the woman behind the cloth. Days passed, then weeks. He returned again and again, each visit beginning with business and ending in laughter. Salome found herself smiling more, her heart still bruised. Yes, but beginning to stir. They started working together. Ugana had contacts in distant towns. He took her wrappers farther than they had ever gone. Orders came pouring in, and so did friendship, real friendship. He never once asked about her past. But one evening, as the sun bled orange across the sky, he lingered at her stall, his eyes softer than she had ever seen. Salome, he began gently, I think I'm falling in love with you. I admire your strength, your spirit. You've made me believe that beauty can have depth. Her breath caught. No one had ever said that to her before. She opened her mouth to reply, but the old fears clawed their way up. The shame, the pain, the humiliation. She said nothing, just lowered her gaze and nodded stiffly. The next day, she did not return to the market. Nor the next. Ugana was confused, hurt, but not angry. He came to her shop instead, unannounced, flowers in hand. When she saw him, her first instinct was to run. But he held his hands up. "Please," he said, "if I've offended you, I am sorry. I only wanted to understand." Salome's defenses cracked. That evening, sitting on a low wooden stool, her hands shaking, she told him everything. About Akume, the pain, the failed attempts, the shame, her condition, the whispers, the humiliation. As she spoke, she wept, not because of Ugana, but because for the first time in so long, someone was simply listening. Ugana sat silently, his heart heavy with every word. When she was done, he reached for her hand. "You are more than what happened to you," he said, "and certainly more than what others think of you. I care about you, not for what you can or can't do, but for who you are. Let me love you in my way, our way." Salome blinked back tears. Something began to bloom. Theirs was not a typical love story. No feverish kisses under the moon or wild declarations in the marketplace. Instead, they found love in gentle touches, shared meals, long silences filled with comfort, and laughter that danced like wind chimes. Salome laughed again. Her eyes sparkled again. With Ugana's support, her weaving business flourished. Together, they carried her work to towns beyond rivers and hills. People no longer whispered about her condition, they whispered about her success. Her grace, her strength. And yet, a quiet ache remained. She still carried the weight of her condition in her womb. In her heart, she longed to give Ugana the closeness she had never known. She longed to give him children. Ugana never pressed her, but she could see it in his eyes when they saw other couples at the riverbanks, or children running past. Then came the rumors. Ugana's family did not accept her. They called her a witch, a fraud. They said she had eaten her own children and made up her condition to cover her shame. They came to her home, shouting, throwing insults. Ugana fought for her, defended her like a lion, but the damage was done. One evening, Salome sat quietly in her shop, her shoulders heavy, her face wet with tears she had not even noticed. That's when the old woman appeared. She entered silently, like a whisper from the past. Her clothes were tattered, her hair white as river foam. "Good evening, my child," the woman said, her voice fragile but kind. Salome wiped her tears. "Good evening, Mama. How may I help you?" "I am poor," the old woman said, "but my granddaughter is getting married. I wish to gift her something beautiful. Can you show me your cheapest wrapper?" Salome hesitated. She knew the woman couldn't afford even her cheapest cloth. Still, she smiled. "Take this," she said, handing the old woman one of her finest. "She deserves beauty on her wedding day. You don't need to pay." The old woman gasped, her eyes shining. "Bless you, my child. May love find you in return." Then she paused. "I know of your condition," she whispered. "The wind carries many secrets in this village. But I may know a way." Salome's heart pounded. "Please, Mama, tell me." "In the silent forest of Ogg, there is a tree, the tree of truth. Drink its sap with a pure heart, and your deepest wish will come true. But be warned, the journey is dangerous. Many enter, few return." Salome clutched the edge of her stool. When Ugana returned that evening, she told him everything. He frowned. "How can we be sure this tree even exists?" "I don't know," she said, her eyes lit with fragile hope. "But I had to try. For us." He took her hand. "Then we'll go together." The next morning, with only a satchel of food and their courage, they set out. The Ogg forest was a living thing, alive with whispers and warnings. The trees were ancient, their branches like twisted fingers. The wind carried laughter, cries, and names never spoken aloud. "Stay close," Ugana said, "no matter what." They faced their first trial in a clearing filled with golden butterflies. At first beautiful, the butterflies soon swarmed Salome, whispering, "You are unworthy? Turn back." Salome trembled, but then she remembered Ugana's words. "I am more than my condition," she whispered. The butterflies parted. They continued, past ghostly cries, darting shadows, and thick roots that seemed to reach for their ankles. Then came the snake. It was massive. Its black scales glistened. Its eyes burned with fire. It rose before them, hissing, blocking the path. "Stay behind me," Ugana cried, drawing his machete. The fight was brutal. The snake struck fast, Its fangs sank into Ugana's neck. But with one final, desperate swing, Ugana slayed the beast. He collapsed. Venom spread through his veins like wildfire. Salome screamed, pressing her lips to the wound, spitting the poison out as best she could. "Stay with me," she pleaded, but he was fading. "Go," he whispered. "Find the tree. I won't leave you. You must." And so, with shaking legs and a soul burning with pain, Salome ran into the heart of the forest, guided by the ancient whispers of roots and leaves. Finally, she arrived. The tree of truth stood in a glowing meadow, its bark silver, its leaves shimmering like stars. She fell to her knees. "Great tree," she cried, "I have faced fear, pain, and doubt, but I am not here for myself. Please, save Ugana." The tree's voice echoed, deep and ancient. "Is that your true wish?" "Yes," she whispered, "more than anything." "Then drink." She cupped her hands. The sap glowed gold. She drank. She wished. And when she opened her eyes, Ugana was standing there, alive, strong, smiling. She ran into his arms. "I gave up the wish for myself," she sobbed. "I couldn't let you die." His eyes shone. "Let's go back to the tree. Maybe I can make the wish for you." But the tree spoke once more. "No one who has made a wish, or benefited from one, may make another." The forest fell silent. They stood there, together, changed, grateful, strong, and hand in hand, they walked back through the whispering trees, hearts full of pain and love. Come closer. The fire crackles low, and the night is deep. This is the last part of Salome's tale, the part few speak of, for it carries a weight that only hearts wide enough for love can bear. You've heard how Salome, the virgin weaver, faced shame and rejection, how she met Ugana, the traitor who saw her soul before her silence, and how they braved the haunted forest of Ogg in search of a miracle. They found it, but that's not where their story ends. When Salome chose to use her one wish not for herself, but for the man she loved, something in the world shifted. The tree of truth, ancient and wise, granted her plea. Ugana lived, and yet, as they stood beneath its shimmering branches, a second wish was denied. No one who has made or received a wish may ask again. The tree said, and so, Salome's condition remained, a truth she carried like a shadow behind her smile. Still, they returned from the forest hand in hand. The village that once mocked her now looked on with a mix of awe and confusion. They had heard the whispers, seen the snake carcass Ugana dragged back from Ogg's edge. No one had ever survived that place. No one had ever returned whole. And there they were, Salome and Ugana, not just whole, but somehow radiant. Their story spread, like fire catching dry grass. People no longer spoke of her failure, her shame. They spoke of her strength, her love, her sacrifice. But love is not always easy, even when it is real. Ugana adored Salome. Every day, he showed her in ways that required no touch, through meals prepared with care, small notes tucked into her thread baskets, dances under moonlight, and laughter shared over market spices. He made her feel whole. He made her believe she was enough. But Salome still felt the ache of what she could not give. There were nights she lay awake, listening to the wind rustle the leaves outside, wondering, will Ugana tire of me one day? Will he resent me for what I cannot do, for the children I will never give him? She never spoke these thoughts aloud. But silence, you see, can be louder than words. And Ugana's family, oh, they were cruel. They never forgave him for choosing her. They came to their home with sharp tongues and poisoned hearts, whispering in his ears, hissing behind her back. She's bewitched you, one aunt said. She ate her own children in the womb. Another spat. She made up her condition to hide her shame. Salome tried to smile through it. She served them water. She bowed her head, but their words pierced her like thorns. And sometimes, when they left, she would crumble into tears behind the curtain. Ugana saw, and he raged. But even his love, fierce as it was, could not stop the quiet loneliness that began to grow inside her once more. Then came the day that would change everything. Salome was sitting alone in her weaving shop, her fingers still and limp over a half-done wrapper. The colors didn't sing the way they used to. Her soul felt tired, like an old thread worn thin. That's when the whispers began again. But not from the village. From within. What if you are meant for more? What if there's still a way? Her thoughts turned to the tree of truth. Its glow, its promise, Its power. She had not asked for herself. Not truly. What if? And then, a different whisper came, from the old woman who had first told her about the tree. Her eyes, kind but knowing, her parting words. The path is not for the faint-hearted. What if the journey wasn't over? That night, as Ugonna slept peacefully beside her, Salome made a choice. She would return, alone. Before dawn, she packed only what she needed, a gourd of water, dried fruits, her strongest wrapper, and the machete Ugonna had once used to kill the serpent. She left a note, simple and trembling. I need to finish something. I'll come back. Trust me. The forest welcomed her like an old enemy. The trees whispered her name this time, not mocking, but waiting. And again, she passed the golden butterflies, silent now, as if recognizing her strength. She crossed the field of shadows, alone but unafraid. Even the ghosts did not speak. When she reached the tree of truth, she fell to her knees. I am back, she whispered. The tree's branches creaked, its leaves shimmered. You are brave, Salome, but you have no wish remaining. I don't want a wish, she said. I want to understand. Why me? Why this path? What am I supposed to do with all this pain? The wind around her hushed. And then the tree spoke again. But this time not in sound, but in vision. She saw 1,000 threads being woven into a single tapestry. Each thread a soul, each knot a pain, each color a joy. And hers was gold shot through with flame. You were chosen, the voice said, not cursed. Your womb was sealed not by punishment, but by purpose. You were meant to carry a different kind of legacy. One that does not bleed or cry, but awakens and heals. She wept, but for the first time, they were tears of release. When she returned to the village days later, she found Ugonna waiting at the edge of the forest, arms wide, fear in his eyes. He had not eaten, he had barely slept. I thought I'd lost you, he said, holding her so tightly she thought she might disappear. No, she whispered, I've only just returned. And so began the final chapter of their life. Salome no longer hid. She taught young girls to weave, not just thread, but self-worth. She spoke at village gatherings, told her story with courage. She healed wounds not with medicine, but with truth. Women came to her, broken, barren, shamed, silenced, and she told them, you are not less, you are not unworthy, you are not alone. Her weaving shop became a sanctuary. Her story, once a whisper, became a song. And Ugonna? He remained by her side, unwavering. When asked if he regretted never having children, he'd smile and say, Salome gave me more than children. She gave me meaning. Years passed. The village changed. And one day, under the baobab tree, with her gray hair wrapped in indigo, Salome watched her former students, now grown, teaching their daughters to weave. Ugonna sat beside her, his hand resting on hers. And Salome smiled. Her condition never changed. But her heart? It bloomed. And her name, once mocked, became a story parents told their children at night. There once was a woman named Salome, whose womb was closed, but whose heart opened the world. Thank you so much for staying with us until the very end of Salome's journey. Her story was one of pain, courage, and love, and we hope it moved you as deeply as it moved us in telling it. If this story touched your heart, made you reflect, or gave you hope in any way, please let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what part stayed with you the most. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next powerful story. Every view, comment, and share helps us bring more meaningful tales like this to life. Until next time, stay kind, stay strong, and never stop believing in the power of love.